The addiction to focus is so powerful that if someone develops it, they will achieve everything they desire. Just like this boy, Nick. Friends, when you hear about him, you will be amazed and learn how to focus. Nick was a 14 years old who fixed chain at a bicycle shop, sometimes repair punctures, and worked long hours in a bicycle garage to earn a few rupees. There seemed to be no hope for change in his life, except for what he could make happen himself. When people came to the shop for repairs, they often treated him rudely and saw him as just a child. His wages were sometimes unfairly deducted, and he was mistreated by the owner. But he had no choice as he needed to work to get 2 meals a day. One day, while Nick was working, a very important officer came to the area. The officer was there for a school opening, but Nick didn't know who he was or why he was important. He noticed that everyone treated the officer with a lot of respect and spoke to him politely. Nick thought to himself, "This man makes everyone happy just by being here, like he's a king. Meanwhile, I work hard and don't bother anyone, but people still treated me badly." That night, Nick couldn't sleep well. He kept wondering why his life was so different from the officers. He thought, "I work for people, and he rides a fancy vehicle." He couldn't figure out why his life was so hard compared to the officers. The next day at the garage, Nick asked his boss who the important person was and why everyone respected him so much. At first, the boss didn't want to answer, but after Nick asked a few times, the boss finally told him that the man was a DM, District Magistrate, who had come to open the school. Nick then asked how someone became a DM. The boss explained that one needs to study a lot, be very knowledgeable, have sharp vision, and strong focus. This idea stuck with Nick. That evening, he went home and stayed up late thinking about how he could change his life to become a DM. He saved money, bought books, and started studying. He attended a government school and worked at night. His goal was clear. No matter what, he would become a DM. Nick was now 21 years old, and for the past 7 years, his only focus had been on becoming a DM. He was waiting to turn 21 so he could complete his graduation and become eligible for the exam. With 1 year left to prepare, he had saved enough money to cover his expenses for 6 to 8 months without working. He dedicated himself entirely to his goal. For the first month, he worked tirelessly, day and night. 3 more months went by, during which he ate 1 meal a day and he spent all his time studying. As the exam drew closer, his study hours increased even more. After 4 months, one night, he suddenly felt dizzy and collapsed. Who would be there to take care of that poor boy? When he regained consciousness after an hour or two, he carefully got up and ate the little food he had left. He went out to buy some medicine, and after taking it and eating something, he resumed studying. He studied continuously for 6 to 7 hours a day, but needed some peace. So in the evening, he went out for walk. Time passed slowly, and soon only 1 month remained before the exam. Suddenly, one day, his stomach pain returned, this time much worse. He became unbearable, forcing him to visit a doctor. The doctor informed him that he had a kidney stone. Shocked by the news, the boy was told he could either undergo surgery or take medication, which might dissolve the stone but would cause a lot of pain. He started worrying about the cost of the operation. He had saved some money, but if he spent it on the surgery, he wouldn't have enough left for food or other expenses for the next month, which could affect his ability to pass the exam. With all this in mind, he returned home and prayed to God for at least a month without problems so he could focus on his studies. However, things didn't go as he hoped. He began experiencing pain almost every day, especially when he ate. but he couldn't stop eating altogether. Despite the discomfort, he kept studying. Having already worked hard in the previous months, he now focused on revision. His exam was just 7 days away, and finally, he managed to complete all his studies, enduring the pain throughout. The time had come for the biggest test of his life. Even the landlord threw him out because he couldn't pay the rent. With all his money gone, he stayed at a friend's house. But the night before the exam, the electricity went out. He needed to study for the exam the next afternoon. Determined not to let go years of hard work go to waste, he sat and read under the street light on the road. Cars passed by, but he remained focused on his book. When he got tired, he walked along the footpath and eventually fell asleep. The next morning, he went back to his friend's house to freshen up, had breakfast, and headed straight to the examination center. Seeing the crowd of the students made him a little nervous, but the moment he had been waiting for had finally arrived. He had passed the prelims and was now appealing for the first paper of the mains. His first paper went very well, unlike previous exam. He wasn't scared by the question paper. Instead, he enjoyed it. He finished with ease and spent the evening reflecting on his journey. Despite the challenges, he was only afraid of two things. First, that his remaining papers should go as well as the first one, and second, that he would get some relief from the kidney stone pain. As the day went by, all his paper went smoothly. Only one last paper remained, and he had thoroughly prepared for it. He could already envision himself becoming this year's TM. But then, on the morning of his final exam, he woke up with a mild pain on his stomach. He drank lukewarm water, but it didn't help. By the time he reached the exam center, the pain had intensified. He managed to start the exam, but halfway through, the pain became so severe that he couldn't sit straight. The invigilator noticed and asked if he needed to leave, but the boy refused. His focus remained on his paper, determined to finish despite the pain. He completed the exam with full dedication and went straight to the hospital afterward. When the results were announced, the boy didn't feel nervous. He knew the immense struggle and hardship he had endured to take the exam. His dream had finally come true. He was no longer just an ordinary poor boy. He had become DM, invited for an interview. The interviewers were astonished when they heard his story. They marveled at how someone could maintain such unwavering focus. Later, he was invited to an international festival by a youth club. There he shared his perspective. No matter the challenges, pain, suffering, or even death, your focus on your goal must remain steadfast, or else life's challenges will overpower you. During his toughest days, he never let the struggle distract him. His focus was solely on his book. He was addicted to his focus, never wavering for his studies even when circumstances were difficult. If you reflect on his entire story, one thing stands out. The boy's focus were unbreakable, as strong as steel. Thank you for watching Inside Ignite. Keep striving for greatness, and I will see you in the next video.